Warning. Great care has been taken to ensure this review is free from plot spoilers. Just as I experienced this fresh, I believe everyone should. However, this review does include story setup details from the first 3 chapters and carefully selected non-plot footage from the latter chapters, and some minor details for illustrative purposes. Whilst I don't think it will spoil your appreciation of the game, if you want to approach it totally fresh, then I suggest you avoid this review altogether. Hi friends, how you doing? Welcome. My name is Venom. Welcome to the worldwide exclusive first ever review of Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. I have played and completed the single player campaign and have considered its merits. I will tell you in what ways the game is a glorious success, but also the totally shocking manner when Naughty Dog had diminished the experience. Right now, approved press are all ringing each other up, talking about what line they are taking with the game, because none of them wants to be seen to say the wrong thing that will earn them the upturned noses of their peers or lose them fanboy visitors. A great opportunity came to me to play this game fresh and before the herd, and share my thoughts and feelings. I am not reviewing the luxury press edition or looking for approval from press peers. I've played the game, considered its merits, and I'm sharing my critical opinion and emotional reaction in the form of a review. You may agree with it, you may disagree with it, but my objective is to give you enough information to make an informed buying decision. And if you have pre-ordered or chosen not to buy, then to give you enough information to make you feel validated about the decision you have already made. Ready? Let's begin! It's been a long time. 9 years ago, Uncharted Drake's Fortune seemingly came out of nowhere and updated the platforming genre with a narrative-based storyline and a real-world setting. It quickly grew into the PS3's most beloved franchise because of its clever blend of action and charismatic characters. Sony and developer Naughty Dog have demonstrated restraint in not churning this into a biannual sequel. It's been 5 years since the last full Uncharted game. But come on, 5 years? Gamers have been getting impatient. It's what I've been waiting for. It's what we've all been waiting for. Now finally, Uncharted 4 A Thief's End is here. So, a little bit of information to show you where I am on the franchise. Christmas Day 2007, I opened 2 phenomenal games. Mass Effect on 360 and Uncharted Drake's Fortune on PS3. This was back in the days when I used to want to save games for that big day, and back when Mass Effect used to be an RPG. I love Uncharted. I went on to complete it and the Redux on Crushing, the hardest difficulty level. I haven't formally reviewed the original games, but I would give Uncharted 1 a 9 out of 10 and Uncharted 2 a 10. Naughty Dog lead game designer Robert Cogburn has said they are moving on from the series and this is the last game. It means you go in with certain expectations from a last chapter, such as the desire to have answers to your unresolved questions. Like, what is Nathan Drake up to now? How does he spend his days? Where does he live? Is he still in touch with Elena, Chloe and Sully? Where does he put his feet up? These are answers players want to know. So in some ways, it takes a behind the scenes look at this character's real life. With this in mind, I launched the game. It's set 3 years after Uncharted 3, and we do catch up with Drake. Then his brother Sam comes crashing in. He needs Drake's help to find the long lost treasure of pirate captain Henry Avery. Otherwise a very bad man, Hector Alcazar, will kill him. They then set off on a globe-trotting adventure together that involves the usual action, adventure and danger. We meet Drake and see a close-up of his face. It's a testament to how far the graphics have come, because Drake looks subtly older. When he is offered the call to adventure, he refuses. He puts his passport away and seems happy being Joe Bloggs. Then in a switch to a more gentle pace, we see Drake in his attic and he is surrounded by memorabilia from his past adventures. Items that we will all know. His notebooks from his journey to Shambhala and the Pillars of Iran. Long-time players can view them as Drake shares his ruminations. It is a lovely celebratory look back on the previous adventures that plays homage nicely. But then Drake picks up the belt buckle he wore in the first game and says, "It's not really my style anymore." If you don't believe me, watch.
Not really my style anymore.
At face value, it just means that Drake finds it ostentatious. However, after having played the full game, I cannot help but feel it is Naughty Dog and stand-in writer Neil Druckmann saying, "We have outgrown Drake." It perfectly encapsulates the struggle in Uncharted 4 between the series that Uncharted fans love and the post-The Last of Us maturity that Naughty Dog want to be celebrated for. But more on this later. The big reveal of the first full Uncharted 4 trailer was that Nathan Drake has a brother, Sam Drake. There was no mention of Nate's brother in the first 3 games, so it's necessary to show their relationship to us, illustrate it naturally so it's believable, so it doesn't appear shoehorned in. What we get to do is play a flashback as young Nathan Drake, an orphan in a Catholic orphanage. His life isn't easy. He is reprimanded by his sister for fighting, and he has a bruised eye and a dejected look about him.
Oh, you gotta learn to watch your back.
Alright.
Hey, it's good to see you, little brother. What was that? Really? Again?
It's nothing.
His brother comes to temporarily break him out, and they take off on an escapade. It's here where we first get to see and understand the dynamic between the two brothers. Nate, a sad kid, and Sam, a streetwise teenager. Both have nothing, except each other. Sam says, "Nothing in our lives has been fair. We make it work." Their relationship is neatly contrasted to present day, and you still see that same dynamic of little brother looking to his older brother. Only Drake is now older and wiser. The adult Drake we have come to know might at times appear to be a cocky jackass, but he has good reason. His childhood hasn't been easy. We also get to experience the game in a couple of other flashbacks, and there is very much an Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade vibe as we get to explore how the boy grew up to become the man. Gameplay is traditional Uncharted, only refined. If you've played the previous games, then you know exactly what to expect. Developers of sequels face a big decision. Fans want more of the same, but if they are given it, there are complaints that it is too similar. And if they are given something too different, devs are criticised for messing with a winning formula. I think Naughty Dog have done well to iterate and polish, and not innovate. At its heart, it's a platformer. Drake walks, runs, climbs, and jumps from one cliff to another. Careful timing is required, but once you know how to do that, there is not much danger of you missing. In fact, to make things easier for you in this game, whilst trying to swing between spots, Drake will reach out his arm if it's safe to make the jump, giving the player a visual signpost of when a jump will succeed or not. The new standout item is the grapple rope. Sure, Drake has used them before to scale locations, but now he carries it on him all the time. It's very helpful in the more open combat arenas as you can use it to quickly escape from danger spots. I did struggle with it in the multiplayer beta, but now I feel suitably comfortable using it. I'm ready to use it in multiplayer matches. There are other gameplay cornerstones, including sliding down a cliff at a dangerous speed and you having to make a jump just as you reach a gap. Also, not being able to reach a ledge and searching for a crate to push into position to boost you up. It's amazing how many times Drake wants to get to a higher level and there is always a crate nearby, never anything else. There is a climb formula, so when you are climbing an object, it suddenly crumbles and you have to quickly press buttons to get a grip and not fall. There are also the puzzles. Perhaps reaction has been negative towards them, as they seem to be fewer and in this game simpler. I'm not a natural. The Witness had me stumped, but these I could solve. The only one that was tricky was one where I wasn't exactly sure what I had to do. Then when I realised I'd wasted half an hour on it, I spat my own forehead. Needless to say that having a bit of common sense and 20 minutes should mean you solve them, but they are irksome for the impatient. Uncharted 4 has also taken a cue from the Assassin's Creed franchise, with an enemy alert timer. You can try and take down guards whilst hidden, but if you draw their attention, your enemies will be looking at you until the timer runs down. Additionally, you have a Batman Arkham Asylum detective mode, similar to the Last of Us escalation mode. So you see a white outline of enemies through walls. Yes, it's nice to have, but it takes away some of the tension. Why, apart from making it easier for the player, should Drake be able to see through and around walls? For much of the game whilst playing, you are accompanied by another character, so their AI control is important because it can either aid or ruin the immersion. That's why those pesky escort missions in GTA and AC are so hated. On the whole, it's fine. In battles, characters shoot, and in default difficulty, I never worried that they would be shot dead, and they are impervious to the grenades I threw at them. Multiple times. Partner gunplay battle is fine, and you don't have to worry about them dying, and you dying because of it. With jumping, you would have moments where you are waiting for Sam to perform a jump that you have just done, but he won't do it because he's been programmed to keep a certain distance from you, which just looked a little bit odd. The death checkpoints are very good. If you fail a jump, thankfully it puts you right back in the spot you were, or close enough, so you can try again. There's no need to replay for 10 minutes. Also, when dying in combat, if you defeat a wave of enemies, you won't have to face them again. There is a hint system and it can be subtle. Press the up button for a hint. Sometimes it is with text on screen, sometimes subtle with a character speaking it to you. Minor quibble of the two-player is the partner character might be far away from you. Then Drake tries to lift or move something, and then suddenly that character appears next to you. I understand why devs do that to make it easier, but ultimately it affects the immersion, and would be better to hear them say, "I'm coming over," as you wait for them. Drake's notebook is a cornerstone to the Uncharted games. He is constantly checking it for clues. So what makes a nice touch is that now you see Drake scribble to his notebook, so it's a natural segue between character and the player interface. Uncharted has received some stick for the combat, but I love it. It's straightforward, you carry a light and heavy weapon and you shoot. You can also shoot from cover, which is a terrific tactic when overpowered or you're just feeling a bit cowardly. Now, I played this game at the default difficulty level. I have a terrible aim and can't make a headshot on a moving target, but on default, combat was easy with me rarely dying. Yes, there were about 3 places where the area is littered in enemies and the big guys covered in armor, and here I would get killed and have to try again. But I can't imagine that happened more than 5 or 6 times in each. By the game being too easy, I feel you spoil it for yourself because you turn it into one big walking simulator. I have completed the first game on crushing, and whilst I don't recommend that soul destroying experience, I would say to try the next difficulty level, as it gives you a chance to live in the levels a bit more and have to use your brain power and tactics to succeed. Far better than racing through a level. Sure, characters are bullet sponges, and this will be magnified on the harder levels when they take longer to kill, but it also makes a win more rewarding. And during combat, when trying to jump, I sometimes jumped onto a wall and couldn't get down whilst being shot. It wasn't as bad as AC, and it only happened rarely. Of course, the game has 100 treasures in it. There are also other collectibles that you need to help you in your quest for clues. Picking them up and looking at collectibles, you see the game has learnt a few tricks, from PlayStation stablemate The Order 1886. Levels on the whole are linear. You follow an A to B path. And I don't state that as a negative because they work best with this genre and it allows the developers to control the narrative experience. But what Naughty Dog have done differently this time is to create a few extra special levels. They call them wide linear. The Jeep level and the mountaintop shootout levels and one on rooftops. These are big open spaces which have multiple routes to reach your objectives. You are facing up to enemies but with the freedom to fight or travel the way you want, adding a touch of open world gameplay into a linear game. I would go so far as to say this is a minor revolution. About the Jeep chase level, it really is an absurdly amazing action set piece. In terms of scope, it feels like you are covering a large part of this town in Madagascar. You see different roads and vehicles and buildings, and whilst trying to stay alive during a pursuit, there is a sense of the open road, real speed and danger. I found myself trying to take in all the detail, a superb technical achievement. But there are also the quiet moments like walking through the marketplace. Many people in it make it dense and amazing and lifelike. It is probably the best, most full depiction of a marketplace in a video game ever. I also enjoyed seeing young Drake and his brother exploring together. There are also the little touches such as the tribute to the very best video game pirate of them all, and a delightful scene which goes a bit meta. I wasn't expecting it and it started off as a little joke which I thought was funny, but then totally surprised me by taking it to the next level. I genuinely laughed out loud, and it is a perfect fit for this last game chapter. Graphics are highly detailed. Even with an untrained eye, you can see there is a huge difference in character models from the Uncharted collection, the PS4 edition of the PS3 games. When you see the close-ups during the cutscenes, the detail is breathtaking. Photo mode shows the in-game character faces to be extremely detailed. What is somewhat noticeable is the 30 frames per second frame rate. I don't have Digital Foundry's graphics measuring tools, but on the whole they are a very able 30 FPS. There are about 4 or 5 times where graphics slowed down to a real chug, such as an instance where I drove the Jeep in the water, or where swimming in water there is loads of action, but these are few and far between. There was also a couple of times I saw some texture popping in a cutscene, but this was also rare. These are just minor points that I'm just drawing for completeness. There are some gorgeous seas and cliffs that harken back to the original. The water is gorgeous, as is the outdoor fauna. I did my usual thing of having Drake stand and admire the view, as I live vicariously through him. I also love the animated flourishes, like the flock of birds flying out of the screen. And the lip syncing is much better than in the previous games. I love the main Uncharted theme. When playing previous games, I always listen to it before starting a play session, so I was hoping to hear a new composition of it, and I got it, but it was not what I was expecting. It is quiet and has a slow tempo and almost tries to hide the melody, and it probably suits the darker tone of this game. However, the Uncharted music is meant to be this big, epic, rousing, inspiring theme, so without it the game did feel, for me, awkward. Like when you get out of bed the wrong way, something isn't right. It's like watching Star Wars without the John Williams theme at the start, or playing a Halo game without the Martin O'Donnell score. This seems to be more than a one-off, it seems to be a full 180 switch in musical direction. In Uncharted 4, it is clear that directors did not want anything approaching a melody. Instead, there is a quiet, often bleak mood music, almost too quiet to hear. It's an approach that worked well for the desolate setting of The Last of Us, but is not appropriate for this, which should be loud and bombastic and hopeful and full of adventure. Even the combat in the old games had a hummable theme. In Uncharted 4, when Drake is goofing around, remembering his action days, the old action theme comes in. This is the theme that you don't hear in the rest of the game. Again, it's as if Naughty Dog and Druckmann are claiming Uncharted has moved beyond that. Well, it hasn't. It isn't until chapter 14 that you hear anything approaching a big theme. But considering the music is by a big time Hollywood composer, Henry Jackman, the music sounds phoned in. Going back to the characters, we also see a young adult Drake, and the similarity with his voice and body actor, Nolan North, is extraordinary. This must have been done intentionally as a big thank you. Also, special credit must be given to young Drake actor Britton Dalton. If he has had his facial performance captured, then he has done well to convey Drake's latent emotions with his nuanced performance. You see this emotionally and physically bruised kid, and you feel for him, your heart goes out to him, and you wonder what road life will take him. Of course, Nathan Drake is a hero, and it's good to see how he has matured since the first game. What I found to be a clever touch is where the graphics complement his characterization. Drake is at a historical location that he is very excited about. As he walks past the furniture, he strokes it, caresses it. It conveys his joy for where he is. Simple but brilliant. So the majority of this story is about the relationship of these brothers, and we see them treasure hunting, but it badly misses the appearance of one of the female characters and their interplay with Drake that was at the heart of the first 3 games. We also drop in on Elena Fisher. It's strange looking at her in this PS4 game, because I don't know if she has been remodeled to look like actress Cate Blanchett, or she has started using Botox. Elena suffers from bad writing. In previous games she's this bouncy, lively, go-getter woman, but here someone decided to pull out the moaning female trope and use it on her. Unless Druckmann is going deep and trying to suggest that every woman is a moaning female. I love the characters, but if it wasn't for the familiarity I have for them and their voice actors, I would classify some of the male-female drama as sub-daytime soap. Regardless, the deft hand of Amy Hennig is missing. In contrast to this, when you do see Elena involved in action, she is oddly Drake's equal in every jump and doesn't suffer any nerves like she did in the previous games. Equal doesn't have to mean the same. There are little touches that have been made to depict the characters of the world with greater realism. You hear minor guards grumbling about pay, but whilst exploring in the jeep in Madagascar, Scully and Sam are with Nate. When you leave them to explore, you hear them have a short chat, which is great and adds to the game. But there are long periods where you are driving and nobody is saying anything. Naughty Dog knew this game would be played by millions of people. Why couldn't they have got their writers to spend 2 days scripting 15 minutes of conversation? This wasn't an issue with previous games because every section of the player experience was controlled. In Uncharted 4, this is just the result of the switch to wide linear. It's certainly not a problem in open world games. I just didn't expect it in this narrative-led game. We also get to meet the main antagonist, Hector Alcazar. Rafe Adler, a sleazy and psychotic rich boy who lacks real menace, and Nadine Ross, a black South African woman, who Naughty Dog made the controversial decision to cast white voice actress Laura Bailey. Leaving ethnic politics aside, I personally think an actor is best able to depict a character if they share some of the same life experience. But in truth, the portrayal of Bailey was fine, and I'm not sure I would have noticed the white voice if I hadn't read about it first. Although that's not really the point. There were moments where she veered to being a 3-dimensional character, but they were all too brief. The game opens in medias res, thrusting you right into the heart of the action. But some of the story is told via flashback, and the game constantly plays with time to illustrate different parts of Drake's story. I see it's necessary to explain his relationship with Sam. However, it makes it difficult to get your feet under the table and settle into this game. So, the previous games were written and directed by Amy Hennig. Uncharted is her baby. But there is an undisclosed story somewhere of how she came to leave Naughty Dog. The Last of Us writer Neil Druckmann and Josh Scher have taken over and written this latest adventure. This does change things. They seem to have been going for a more realistic world as depicted by the story, the music, and the characters. The The franchise started off with a supernatural element and has slowly pulled away from that more and more with every game. The Last of Us is the story of an ordinary man in an extraordinary world, but Uncharted 4 is an extraordinary man in a very ordinary world. It is realistic and sober and subdued. So the writers have to try and switch the excitement of the supernatural with the excitement of treasure hunting. And whilst the characters are happy about what they see, I'm not sure all players will, and the game loses some of its charm because of it. But the climactic section had me very impressed. Near the end of the game, there is a bit of possible retcon, retro continuity, which actually subtracts something from the magic of Drake. But Druckmann didn't create these characters, and it wasn't his place to do this. But it is extraordinariness and epicness that make Uncharted great, and I can't help but feel Naughty Dog have turned their nose up at it. Uncharted 4 is built on the shoulders of the first 3 games. Naughty Dog have at least demonstrated the decent manners to pay tribute to Amy Hennig's contribution in the game credits. This is a game where the emotional beats build on the player experience from the previous games. A person coming to Uncharted 4 will still be fine and not worry that they are missing half the story. It's just that a long-time player will have that invested relationship with the characters and so feel closer to them. There are also very slight rumble beats at certain story beats, and it cleverly adds to the unsettling or emotional feeling. Overall, the new writing team have done many things right. Early in the game when we see Sam and Drake reunited, I almost had a tear in my eye, and that is a testament to their story being set up so well, so quickly. If anything, I think the sentimentality could have been ramped up, but maybe that would have been too cloying for some. There is a plot question that I don't think was explained well, and it's clear that it was added to give the plot more razzmatazz. At times, I felt the interplay between the characters didn't have that sparkle, and there were large parts of the game where there was game progression but no story progression. Just as I began to experience fatigue in the never-ending pace towards the finale, the game took control of the reins and brought everything together. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is an ambitious, dazzling, phenomenal trip of an action-adventure game that takes all the elements of the genre and refines them to near perfection. The whole development team should be proud of their exemplary achievement in game design. A truly unparalleled experience. That's why I'm awarding it a glorious 9 out of 10. The great test will be after the hullabaloo of launch, if gamers come to regard this as superior to the critically acclaimed and fan acclaimed Uncharted 2. There comes a time when a story has to end. Friends never want to say goodbye, but I think that Naughty Dog have been brave and decided when to hang up their Uncharted boots. There is a grittiness about this tale, seeing the wounded boy Drake that contrasts strongly with the previous games. But there are also some wonderful human moments filled with warmth and love, and it is these that I will hold on to. There is a point that Drake looks at a picture of Tenzin from Uncharted 2, and he says, "I miss you." I think I know what he means. Bless you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video or found it useful, please hit the like button and share it with friends, and make sure you subscribe for further updates. Cheers!